Good morning, traders. Today's topic or theme: dollar weakness is not necessarily good for U.S. equities. And I'm going to start the video just talking about the SPX. Our expected move this week is going to take us right into the 2811 area. That is the next target for the week. It's no coincidence that the market makers have that as our next target for end of the week. Good chance we'll get it, but we'll see what happens. So far, for many weeks here, we've been getting the upper expected range for quite some time now, and we are now in a bullish side of the trend. We are actually on the bearish side before, and we are hitting those targets, and now we're finally on the bullish side, so I have little doubt we'll get 2811 for the weeks out. To start my discussion about the highest volume futures contracts, and the 10-year treasuries this morning are catching a bid again. And as you can see, we have a little wedge pattern going on here on our daily. Let me zoom in here a little bit. We are above the 1 standard deviation move, and we are breaking out of this. We broke out yesterday, and we're continuing to break out this morning on our 10-year bonds. This is somewhat bullish on the markets. We are extended away from our 125 SMA on the daily. So, you don't want to read too much into it, considering we're doing a breakout on an extension. Now, if we were undervalued doing a breakout, that's very much more bullish. But it's something to be aware of going into the session. And if you go on your lower time frames, we do have a little bit of a squeeze going on our 4-hour, and then our 1 hour, it's not really squeezing out hard. But at any rate, we are pushing out the 2 standard deviation band as of right now on our 10-year treasuries, suggesting we might see a continuation in the bid. So just keep that in mind. That is a more bearish tone in the markets. That's the way it's setting up this morning. The second biggest would be our crude. And as I said, I think crude oil is a little extended. We are not getting the oil inventories at 10:30 this morning. At 4:30, we have our other inventory numbers from the government. They come out this evening. Basically, all of our oil inventory numbers have been pushed back 1 day. So just keep that in mind. We are at the top of this channel, which I've had drawn for a while now. And we're just kind of going sideways here, but I do think that we're seeing a little bit of weakness here, which could be a sell-off signal for the markets if crude were to catch some, to want to reset to lower levels. Basically, I would prefer for a breakout of this channel for this 25 SMA to be further up here in the 56, 50, 57 area for the momentum breakout of the channel, and I personally don't see that. So I think it's more likely that the crude's going to drag on the markets today, in my opinion. And the third futures, and that is gold, and gold is just on fire. We had a massive squeeze scenario coming into yesterday. It broke out with very strong volume, closed at the highs of the session, and is now continuing the drive higher. And if you go out on your weekly time frame on crude oil, take this off here. This is a very easy accelerated. You can see how whenever it gets in this zone, it always tags this 1365 area. This thing here is likely to tag at this week with little resistance. So if you're not in gold already, it is a fairly safe bet that you can have a winning trade if you just ride it for the next $19 higher or $18 higher from here this week. Okay, that's it for those. Give me 1 second here. As in yesterday's video, I told you about the VT is an ETF that tracks all equities that don't include U.S. equities. And as you can see, we have this little trend line that has acted as resistance in the past. Well, we are catching a bid again in the global markets today. So I'm thinking by the close today, we're at the very least going to be tagging that again and that is our 200 SMA on this ETF. So keep that in mind. I do see relative strength in the global equities. I think what's happening here, we're seeing rotation out of the dollar. It's going into gold, and it's most likely coming. The futures are down this morning, so I am thinking that we're seeing rotation back into some of the global equities starting today, and the Nikkei is actually showing a change of character, which I wanted to point out here. The Nikkei 225, we broke above these two trend lines I've got drawn here. And we did have some decent volume on this move. So I do want to point this out that the Nikkei is crossing into a different trading zone. And this might have some legs going forward here on our Japanese stocks. So just keep that in mind. We're still in a bearish territory, but it's promising that we're seeing rotation back into the global equities. And keep in mind, a lot of the global equities are trading at a significant discount right now in Asia and in Europe. And the U.S. relatively is expensive. So taking some profits out of U.S. equities and moving them over into the global markets just makes sense if the equity markets are repairing themselves. So to confirm my thesis on the weekly here, we are crossing above our 8 and 21 SMAs on the bullish side for our Japanese markets. And we're coming up to retest the 125 SMA, it looks like. So quite a bullish cross here scenario on the Japanese markets that could be a driving force going forward. And if you go on your lower time frames, let's see here, I'd much rather see a squeeze scenario. No, not necessarily. Okay, one second, one other view here. We don't necessarily have a squeeze scenario going on. We do have that cross, but as you can see, we're getting awful close to that 125 SMA, and based on the volumes that we're seeing right here, right now, I think we're getting some algo support for this move based on what we're seeing on the profile build out. And so basically we're getting a profile more like the bell curve we had back in November setting up here. So very easily to go to the top of this profile, and that would be retesting the 125 SMA. So yeah, I am quite bullish based on the profile analysis that there's some algo support helping drive prices higher in this sector in Japan. The next major area that I had mentioned to the guys in the chat rooms yesterday, and I think even in my video, that I actually thought this was going to be really a bullish breakout yesterday in the German DAX. But we had some very strong PPI numbers year on year and month on month. Both came out just a few hours ago. And so we're finally getting a breakaway from the bottom of the trend so far this morning. I think we are going to close at the highs of the session on the DAX. So I think this is very supportive in my opinion. We're at least going to close on that, if not break out above it, in my opinion, based on the data that came out this morning. It's just still early in the sessions. I don't even know if I think, yeah, they just opened. Yeah. So just keep this in watch. I do think there's a bid in the DAX today. And so that's very supportive of strength in the overseas markets. And to support my thesis on the German DAX, basically we've got solid volume profile all the way up to 2703 area. This doesn't trade until normal hours. So basically, if we open right where the DAX is right now, we're going to be right here at the top of the range on the open on the German DAX. And then from there, we'll decide whether or not new buyers are going to come in and build out the profile to higher prices. So just keep this in mind here. The German DAX is going to be opening right at the tops of the 2-month ranges. So just keep that. Back in December, we actually got all the way up to the 2734 area. So we're getting right up there next to 125 area, 125 SMA area. So I do think the German DAX is on its way to retest the 125 SMA, very likely here this week. Okay, CVS is reporting this morning here in a few hours, and basically we're trading below where the earnings were last quarter, which we got pretty well flat the same day. But we got a nice little bid in CVS last quarter, and we're trading at a discount right here, right now. So just keep this in mind. CVS can rocket higher. They're expecting a $3.10 move, so that would put us back right at the 125 SMA if that move does happen. So keep, and potentially for a continuation to the bullish side on CVS for a swing trade. So just keep that in mind, that it's undervalued right here, right now, going into today's earnings. And then the one that I'm bearish on, and that's ADI. Look how this thing has rocketed on the daily. And this is a major supplier for the iPhones. And we've heard all the news about how iPhone sales are weak. And, keep in mind, this isn't a new model that came out. They just remarketed the old model for this year instead of coming out with a new one. And, that's one of the things hurting their sales. So even on your weekly time frames, you're at the top of the expected moves on your ADI going into a significant news event, the earnings coming out this morning. I just cannot see any reason why this thing will pop with guidance. I just can't see it. And that's why I am short Apple going into these numbers based off this the standard deviations going into this major news event. And I can go out my monthly too and look. And as you can see, even on your monthly, you're pushing out above the 2 standard deviation on your monthly. This thing is just way overbought. And if these markets are even remotely weak at all, or the numbers are weak at all, I just cannot see this being sustained at these lofty levels in this current market climate. Okay, and then this one here has has a $4.24 expected move on ADI, which could very easily blow it out to the downside, in my opinion. So keep that in mind. See, you're even outside your expected moves here on Wolverine worldwide. Whenever you start seeing going into earnings like that, how much of the move is already priced in, you have to ask yourself. So this is very concerning that this thing can continue to push up higher. I mean, it's already at 52-week highs. So, and the MAs, the moving averages have not really caught up to the move. I mean, it's one thing to be putting in 52-week highs, but it's another whenever you're so far away from your major moving averages. So we'll see what happens. It can surprise me, of course. And then tomorrow we got Hormel Foods. This is a consumer staples. And this thing here's had mixed results, but companies like this with a strong dollar tend to disappoint more than they surprise to the upside. So just keep that in mind. This is another one that I'm a little slightly more bearish on going into these numbers. And we do have a squeeze situation going on here. So just keep that in mind, that Hormel, it looks like it could actually exceed the expected move of $1.58 tomorrow. Okay. And Newmont, which is a gold company, and it is on fire with the gold market right here and catching a nice little bid going into earnings. I'm not for sure if they give guidance or not, but given the current movement in the gold, I kind of expect Newmont to actually have good earnings and good guidance. So this is one area that I would actually look to the long side for the distance. You're actually getting it at a discount here on your weekly chart. So with the gold doing what it's doing, I could see it be testing up here at the $41 area here real soon, based off of the news, or they could even actually blow out the numbers and they're only expecting $1.34 on the move. But considering the relative strength we're seeing in gold, this is one of those candidates can just completely 2-3 times the expected move, what the markets are expecting. And then Wendy's, and this is a gauge of consumer spending. If people aren't going out eating, then that's a very bearish tone on retail sales. And I'm actually really surprised that XRT did not catch a nice bid yesterday. Whenever I planned for XRT to break out yesterday on the move, based off of what was going on with Amazon, based on what was going on with Walmart, and it still couldn't break out of the trend, it gave me a red flag. Something wasn't right in retail. So that's why I want to really keep an eye on Wendy's here. I kind of think the markets have got it wrong. I think retail's a lot stronger than what the markets are initially showing as of yesterday. But we are a 1 standard deviation move, and the problem was the earnings were kind of disappointing last time on Wendy's, and it had that initial sell off and it rebounded. We're right back there, so just keep this in mind. I just don't see a rocket move to the upside on Wendy's, so just keep that in mind on that one. And XRT. This is the one, this trend line, when we got that Walmart numbers yesterday, I thought this thing was just going to blow out yesterday. And then we saw Amazon taking off, and this thing just came to a dead halt. And this was a red flag to me. I said, what is going on here? I thought for sure it was going to break out of this trend line, and it just sort of stalled. So just keep that on your watch here. With CVS reporting today, that does figure into your retail sector. So that could help drive this higher. So just keep that in mind. I still think that they're undervaluing. They're not putting enough value in our retail sector. And that is one of the sectors that should be driving to the upside. And we're coming out of a squeeze situation on this. Okay. So that's why I'm more bullish on retail than what we initially got yesterday. So just keep that in mind. I do think we're going to get the 28.11 this week. And this is one of the sectors I do think is going to drive to the upside. Okay, that's all I got to say today. And good luck and good trading. Like I said, gold's the place to be really right now. And as long as interest rates are coming in a little bit, there's probably going to be a bid in some of our technology space. Basically, when interest rates are going up, it's tough on our FANG names and our semiconductors. So, and we do have a bid in our bonds today. So if the markets were to catch a rally, we're probably going to see a lean more to the bullish side on our technology. So just keep that theme in mind. Please like the video if you like it, and leave a comments, ideas and stuff at the bottom if you can. Maybe stocks and stuff, stock picks and stuff, because I'm here to make money just like you guys, and I try to learn from everybody. Thanks a lot, and I will see you tomorrow.